It's a tremendous chus, a great honor to be able to participate in this moving evening. We are all gathered here today to try and cause an Ilui Neshama, Rabbi Yisrael ben Mordechai. How does it work? So, I'll go up and explain a little. Since we are gathering here tonight as a result of the Yahrzeit, it's only right that it should go to his heavenly account. All the Torah that we learned tonight. But there is a greater Ilui Neshama than that. And that is when one's own offspring do the right thing, day in, day out, all day long. That is the greatest Ilui Neshama. And Baruch Hashem, the Rav Shlita is engaged all day long in the blessed activity of Lilmod Ulelamed, Lishmor Vela Asois. He's trying to be Mekarev Ol Acheinu Bnei Yisrael, and that is the greatest Ilui Neshama for your father. So Mitzvah Hashem, your father will be a Meilitz Yosher for your wonderful family, for all those who are gathered here tonight, and for Klal Yisrael. So I thought maybe, since we have a Tzibur of Talmidei Chachamim, we're going to ask you a halachic question. But it has to do with a Yahrzeit. So a Yahrzeit halachic question. Listen to a fascinating ma'aseh. A Talmid Chacham is walking in the street. A guy who doesn't look the part, doesn't look from at all. He runs over to him and he says, Rabbi, can I ask you a question? Sure. My father's Yahrzeit, he says to him, is on January 21st. So tell me, when do I have to go to shul to do the azkara, to do the Yahrzeit? On January 21st or on the 20th? He says, what do you mean? Well, technically speaking, my father passed away at 8:32. Middle of January is the middle of the winter. So it's after Tzeitzah Koichavim, but it's before midnight. We're talking about a Goyish calendar. So how does it work, Rabbi? And this time Talmid looks at him and says, wait a second. Do you know the Hebrew date of your father's passing? He says, sure, but that was already 2 weeks ago. And we did the Azkara 2 weeks ago. So what do you mean? He says, look, in our shul, the rabbi instituted that we do 2 Yahrzeits. We do for the Hebrew date and for the English date. So the Hebrew one was 2 weeks ago. We already did it. Now I'm asking you about the coming Goyish calendar, which is coming up. I need to know, do I go on the 20th or 21st? Who's your rabbi? So he tells him who the rabbi is. And this Talmid Chacham goes to have a little chat with this rabbi. And he says to him, Shmua Shomati. Is it true what I heard? You guys do 2 Yahrzeits? One for the Goyish calendar and one for the Jewish one? He says to him, yeah. Where'd you get this from? So he explains, look, the crowd that we get is like the type of crowd of the guy you met in the street. They're not Shomer Torah mitzvahs yet. They don't come here. Year round, we don't see them. The only time that they all come is when there's a Yahrzeit for the father or the mother. They all run to shul. And when they do, we have many shiurim. We teach them fundamentals in Yadus, Torah, mitzvahs, how to keep Shabbos, how to daven, Taras HaMishpacha. Basic stuff that they all need to know. The only time we get to see them is on the Yahrzeit. So we decided we're going to do 2 Yahrzeits. And we're going to get more people in. Now comes the Shaila. Can you do this? Can you institute 2 Yahrzeits, one on the Jewish calendar and one for the Goyish calendar? But look for what? We're going to gain. All these people, otherwise they're not coming to shul. They're not coming here. But here they're going to come and they're going to learn so much, which in Mitzvah Hashem will impact the entire year until we see them again. This shul probably has a problem every 19 years. You know, the Goyish and Jewish calendar coincide. One day, okay, fine. So 18 out of 19 is also pretty good. Aboisai Dayani Mumchim. What do you say? Can we have this double Yahrzeit sessions in the shul? Because we have a lot to gain. Or, Yahrzeit is only a Jewish thing, a Jewish calendar, and we don't introduce chidushim of that sort. Aboisai, what do you say? Not everyone together, one by one. You like it or you don't like it?
Yeah, I like it.
You like it?
Yeah,
You have a lot again? Why not? Oh. We have 2 strong coalition, very strong. Talmidei Chachamim Anyone wants to oppose them? Can you? Can you even do one birthday? Where's the only birthday, or who's the only birthday we learn about in Tanakh, in the entire Tanakh? Paroi! Bayom Ashlishi Yom Huledes says Paroi. Some say because of that, a birthday is an inyan of Goyim. It has nothing to do with us. There's an amazing Chassam Sofer. Unbelievable Chassam Sofer. You know what the Chassam Sofer says? What are you celebrating? The fact that you became an Arel? If you really want to have a birthday celebration, you do it 8 days after. This is applicable for men, not for women. When you became circumcised and a part of Avraham Avinu's team. What about Moshe Rabbeinu?
He said,
and therefore?
He mentioned on the birthday.
He didn't make a party.
He said today, was it relevant to say?
That's just to tell us what the Gemara dashins. A pasuk from Parshas Mishpatim. Es mispar yamecha amalei. To teach you that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is memale shnoseihem v'yameim shel tzadikim miyom l'yom. That's just an indication that this person was a tzaddik gamo. We have many, many tzaddikim in our collective history. Do you know anyone that we celebrate their birthday? We know Yahrzeit. We don't know birthdays. A birthday just means a sack of potential came into this world. What's going to be with it? I don't know. Let's meet after 120 and we'll discuss. The birthday in itself is insignificant.
We celebrate the potential.
Every person born into the world is potential. But many people don't fulfill their potential. But if they did, let's celebrate what they did. Not the fact that you had potential. Potential itself is nothing. Let's see what you do with it. I do have to say that there is a Ben Ishai in Parashas Re'eh Shana Rishona Os Yud Zayin Ki Medume that says that in our city of Baghdad it is our minhag. We practice celebrating birthdays and it's a minhag yafe. It's a good thing to do. The same Ben Ishai in his Sefer Ben Yehoyada in Brachos Daf Chavches, where we learn the story of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who was appointed to be the prince of Klal Yisrael at the young age of 18. Says the Ben Ishai, what? How do you appoint yourself at 18? What happened? He says, what do you mean? It was his birthday. A person's luck, his mazal on his birthday is very, very strong. And in fact, there is a Gemara in Yerushalmi in Maseches Rosh Hashanah, Perek Zayin Halacha Gimel. And the Yerushalmi says that Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid when he was about to fight Amalek. And the Gemara says, what are you afraid of? Amalek? You're Moshe Rabbeinu. But the Gemara explains, Amalek didn't used to take, on the day of battle, those best fit soldiers, the best snipers. He would take those soldiers who had a birthday on day of battle because then their muzzle is strong. So that's a source for the Ben Ishai, that a person's muzzle is strong. However, some say that has nothing to do with us. It's Amalekim. It's a Goyish birthday, it has nothing to do with us. So there are different opinions about that. But back to our Shaila. A boy said, we're not on birthdays today, we're in Yahrzeit. Can we institute this double Yahrzeit?
What is a Yahrzeit?
What is a Yahrzeit?
There's no place for it to observe on anyways. There's nothing. It's barely even the Rabbanim. It's more like a minhag.
It is a minhag. Minhag Toiv. Look what it caused.
Right.
So many Talmidei Chacham to come and learn Torah today.
65 Yahrzeits if you want.
But that's not my question. That's not my question. My question is, can I use the Goyish calendar for anything? Whether it's a Yahrzeit, whether it's a birthday, whether it's... Let's meet on January 2nd to celebrate, I don't know. I'm sorry? So that's what I want to know. Now, on the way, I'm going to plug this Yahrzeit and say, well, I'm going to learn Torah because of it, so why do you care? Can I use the Goyish calendar, Bichlal?
Well, before Masechet Rosh Hashanah, they say that you would count the year of the king, not even a Jewish king, a non-Jewish king. You put on the date that is cool. So we used to work with dates that are not Jewish. With Marai says that, so it shouldn't be a problem with that.
Also, in Futsal, it's what we're saying, Matar, we use the Goyish.
60 days to the Tkufa. Fantastic.
And some of the names of the Chodeshim we got from...
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. The way we're familiar with them. But they were converted and adopted by Klal Yisrael. Originally, they come up with those people who came and made Aliyah from Chutz La'aretz. But they were converted. Some kind of similarity to certain names. Name Alexander, which became a very Yiddish name. Fine. Where does it come from? Alexander the Great. converted and adopted to Klal Yisrael.
Maybe we can convert and adapt the birthdays of the Goyim. If it means
But where does the Goyish calendar come from? Where does it stem from?
if we're doing it,
Yemach Shemoy v'zichoi. You want to convert him first, or he's Jewish, doesn't need your conversion? Yisrael shechata afa pi shechata Yisraelu.
before the common era. If we say we just call it before the common era, then we're counting from there. That's what we used to do in school, so we wouldn't make this.
But you're saying February 17th. What does that mean? It's the second month, the 17th day on the second month, to what?
The common era.
What happened on the 25th and what happened on the 1st? By the way, Chiddush. Why is January 1st selected to be the first 8 days after? What happens 8 days after the 25th of December? The bris of Yemach Shemov Zichron. Most Christians don't know this. They have no clue. It's an arbitrary thing, they think. Not true. It was selected because of the bris. But the biggest Chiddush...
Other reason he thought the days were getting shorter. He made it that.
Yeah, this is the Gemara in Avodah Zorah says. Who says it's January 1st? It's Kufa Tevis is mentioned there.
It existed
8 days later.
before. It existed a long time before.
It wasn't there, but the name wasn't there before. But who says that should start the year? Why not start the year in the summer? Why do you have to start in the middle of the winter? But the biggest chiddush is that most researchers are the opinion that Yemach Shema V'Zichro wasn't even born on December 25th. Big chiddush. They claim April 19th. Big chiddush. But in any event, is there a problem using the Goyish calendar? What? Bichlal, to learn Torah and Bichlal. And maybe also for Yahrzeit purposes, even though it stems from a minag be'alma. Halacha
Minhag was on the 25th that didn't learn Torah.
I'm sorry?
There's a minhag that on the 25th you learn
Nittel night. Baruch Hashem, not everybody holds from this minhag. Baruch Hashem, there's some Torah learned. You know, the Chaim Volozhin said, if there will be 1 second that there's no Torah in this world, the world would continue to exist the way we know it. And therefore, in his yeshiva, he didn't sit and learn. The yeshiva wasn't operating from 9 a.m. till 11 p.m. It was operating at all times. There were shifts. Sometimes when you can't learn anymore, you go to sleep. But the yeshiva is always learning because he was afraid of his own chiddush. The Chassam Sofer says, based on that, that's the reason Purim is celebrated 2 days. Because when I get drunk in Yerushalayim, you can continue learning Torah. When you get drunk in Raanana, Yerushalmi people can still learn Torah, and Baruch Hashem, the world can continue to exist the way we know it. What's that? Baruch Hashem for Australians. And what if all the Australians will make Aliyah? Lichoyer can happen.
More likely they will get drunk.
You're saying it's too big of a chiddush. Lichoyer, we have 2 problems doing this Yahrzeit on the Goyish calendar. First of all, the usage of the Goyish dates are a big problem, as we will see. And changing the Torah and creating something which doesn't really exist is a big problem as well, as we will see. The Ramban, Adonenu HaRamban, and this pasuk, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chodashim. What month is that? Nisan is Rosh Chodesh, is the first month. I thought the year starts in Tishrei. Says the Ramban, when you say this is the 7th month, referring to Tishrei, it's the 7th month to Nisan, it refers to the Geula of Mitzrayim. Not that it's the first month of the year. HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, Rosh Chodashim, is when you count, Nisan is the first month, Tishrei is the 7th, and the rest of the month, you in essence are constantly reminding yourself and others, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Egypt. You don't do that when you use January, February, or the rest of the month. The Chassam Sofer, listen to our language. Chassam Sofer carries a lot of weight. The greatest posek. And the Chassam Sofer writes, when we count, and we say, today is Sunday, today is Monday, Hayom Yom Echad B'Shabbos, Hayom Yom Sheni B'Shabbos, Hayom Yom Shlishi B'Shabbos. When you do that, you constantly remind yourself and others that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in 6 days and then He rested on the Shabbos. When you count the months, our Jewish months, you do the same to the Geula of Klal Yisrael. And now listen to our language. And if one does not, Halo Yevoshu Beis Yisrael al Tumur Hazu. Klal Yisrael have to be embarrassed for substituting and taking something that belongs to them and using it as if it belongs to us, but that wasn't enough. There was some soiser. So therefore he continued and he says a few more words. Those who count to the birth of the Christian Messiah, Koisev v'choisem atzmoi, it's as if the person is signing a star saying, She'en lo chelek be'eloikei Yisrael. I have nothing to do with the God of Israel. I have a lot what to do with Lichoira, the Mashiach, Sheker of the Christians, and that's startling. Shalas Teshuvas Ma'aram Shik says what you said before. Chukos hagoyim, it's Isur deoraisa, sheneemar v'shem Elohim acherim, lo tazkiru lo yishama al picha. When you're saying that date, you're in essence mentioning the name of their God, or part of God, or whatever, however they want to refer to him. What's that?
It's not the name. You can write the Jewish date and take it to the bathroom. It's not the name of Hashem.
When you're using that count, you're constantly giving chashivus. It's chilul Hashem on one hand, and it's Shem Elohim Acherim, lo tazkiru lo yishama al picha, is not only al picha, have nothing to do with it. Lo yidbak becha meuma. The Sefer Yefel Lelev, which is the son of Reb Chaim Palagi, Reb Nisim Palagi, and he writes that stems from Uvechu Kosehem Loi Seileichu. We have a serious problem. But there's another problem.
That's if you do it without a tam. You do something without a reason, you have a reason.
Bechu Kosehem Loi Seileichu has two aspects to it. If you see the Goyim do something which has no reason, stay away. Because we'll say it originated in Avodah Zarah. There's another Bechukei Lo Selechu. When they do something that makes sense to you and it comes from Avodah Zarah. How much more so that's Bechukei Lo Selechu. The Chiddush that you're saying is that even when you don't know, stay away, because it probably stems from Avodah Zarah. But when you see something that you know where it comes from, they'll tell you. So how much more so you have to stay away. But there is another problem with it. And that is deviating from the Torah, changing, creating something new. There's an amazing Gemara in Baba Kama Daf Lamed Ches. The Gemara says that when the Roman soldiers came to Chachmei Yisrael that they should teach them Torah, they told them exactly what the Torah is all about. And they didn't even change one very harsh kind of a sounding Torah law. And the rule is Shor of a Yid that gored a shor of a goy, does he have to pay? Patu! What if it's a goyish shor that gores a Jewish owner, Jewish shor? What does he have to pay? Full damage is nezek shalem, pilei ploim. That can cause the Romans to get upset, right? Yet they didn't change from the truth. Says the Yam Shel Shloimo, and again, Yam Shel Shloimo carries a lot of weight. He says, you see from here, that even though in theory you should be really afraid, who knows what they're going to do. This is the Romans we're talking about. And they have the power to destroy Klal Yisrael. You can't change one letter of the Torah that's called Chilul Hashem, even for the sake of Pikuach Nefesh. That's what the Maharshal says, and that is a mind-boggling thing. I'm sorry? Good. That is not a din. They didn't change the dinim in the Torah. They changed certain words not to offend Talmai, but they didn't change the dinim. But when you change the dinim in the Torah, you have a serious problem. Soon we'll see how this will impact. If you change the Yahrzeit date, we'll see how potentially it can cause a big problem.
At the end of Kamsa Bar Kamsa, they offered the sacrifice.
Excellent. So you're sending us to Gittin Daf Nun Vav and Nun Zayin, where we learn about Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. I don't know if we were allowed to speak about Tisha B'Av in the middle of Kislev. Soon it's Chanukah. But without going into Arichus, Hoira Asha. And Hoira Asha, Lichoira, you can. We see it in Eliyahu and Hara Carmel. He is sacrificing outside Beis HaMikdash. Who gave him permission? Hoira Asha. If you do it on a temporary basis, and you explain to Klal Yisrael this is a temporary thing that we're doing, you're good to go. Especially if you're a Navi. But if it's Es La'asos LaHashem, Hefeiru Teirasecha. But when you're creating a new rule, and you're not giving it an expiration date, that's a problem. You know what? Similar to this. Similar, but maybe not so similar. Any doctors here? So we can speak freely, right? And no one knows any doctors, right? A guy comes over to the doctor and he says, Doctor, I don't feel well. I don't know what's going on here with my heart. And just, I don't know what's going on. It's already a week and a half. The doctor checks him out. And the doctor, before he talks to the patient, calls us here in the Kollel to ask a question. Am I allowed to say to the patient, listen, it doesn't look good. I know this patient. And if I'll say that, he'll do tshuva. He'll start saying Tehillim, and he'll give tzedakah, and he'll learn Torah. I know this guy. The truth is, it's not a big deal, what he has. Not a big deal at all. And after 5, 6, 7 days, when I see that he's into it, I'll tell him, listen, you have to come back to the office, and we'll do further testing, and Baruch Hashem, your matzav is improved. Baruch Hashem, you're doing much better. I think you're getting it out of this. Or, and we're not talking about if the patient is going to find out it's going to be a Chilul Hashem. We just want to know, conceptual question. Are you allowed to lie to the patient in order to gain Torah? Or, listen, you have to say the truth. If he doesn't want to do tshuva, you're not going to take his arm and twist it and say, you got to do tshuva. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants him, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will find him. Can the doctor lie to the patient in order to cause him to get closer to his Creator? What do you say, Rabbi Say? Moira ve Rabbi Say. Dayanim ve Dayanos. Midvar sheker tirchak. Is it shayach? A big chiddush. What does it mean? Midvar sheker tirchak is a passage that appears in Parshas Mishpatim. Sefer HaChinuch Mitzvah Ayin Dalet says, this is a mitzvah applicable to Beis Din. That's what we learned in Shavuos Daf Yud Zayin. Midvar sheker tirchak means the Beis Din have to distance themselves from lying. Big chiddush. Sefer HaYereim, Sefer HaChinuch, Sefer Psadia Gaon, HaRambam, the Ramban, all those Moinei HaMitzvahs, they'll count the 630 mitzvahs, did not bring it as one of the 613 mitzvahs. Only the Smag in Reish Chaf Zayin and the Smak in Reish and Kuf Zayin say it's a mitzvah to distance yourself from lying. Not a negative mitzvah, don't lie. Positive mitzvah, distance yourself from lying. But all the others, you know what the Rambam writes in Hilchos Deos? That a Talmid Chacham doesn't change from his words when he's doing some business dealings. Big chiddush. And yet the Torah says, distance yourself from lying. Meaning, the Beis Din should be very careful. True. Sefer HaChinuch himself in Mitzvah Ayin Dal at the beginning says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Kel Emes, as we learn in Shabbos Daf Nun Hey. That's his stamp. Kel Emes. And all those who walk in his ways, and we are commanded, we should walk in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ways, the blessing would be bestowed on them when we walk in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's ways, and you emulate him. But if Chalila, you do the opposite and you go to Sheker, so the opposite of Bracha will be bestowed on a person like that. Mesilas Yesharim in Perek Yud Aleph says, in Perek Yavos we learned there are 3 pillars to the world. The Emes, the Din, the Hashalom. Emes is one of the pillars of the world, so if you don't use that pillar, you make this place a very unstable place. It's going to be shaky. You better stick to Emes. But is it a bona fide mitzvah d'oraisa? Lichoira, from the sources we just brought, it doesn't seem like that. So it's a good advice. Midvar sheker tirchak. Sha'arei Tshuva Rabbeinu Yonah in Sha'ar Shlishi brings such a severity of sheker in Soita Mem Beis. Sanhedrin Kufei we learn. Kuf Beis, I'm sorry. There's 4 groups that don't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu after they go upstairs. Kas Chanefim, Kas Mesapre Loshon Hara, Kas Shakranim, and Kas Leitzonim. So Shakranim, liars, don't get to visit with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So of course we should stay away from him, but is it a bona fide mitzvah? Hard to know. So what do you say, Rabbi? Can the doctor lie to the patient or not? Since we're not doctors, you can tell me what you really think. Yes. And it's not recorded. Yes, it is. Doctor can lie. You have a raya? You want to be mati what he called an Isur D'Oraisa.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu could lie for shalom to bring...
For shalom. Yevamu Samechei, for shalom.
So then to bring shalom between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Kollel Yisrael, or this Yid, he could lie as well.
But you have a Gemara against you. Barabasa Daf Tezayin. We learn about Pnina. Pnina and Chana. What did Pnina and Chana used to do? Pnina had a lot of kids. How many kids did Chana have? A big fat 0. So Pnina every morning would say to Chana, so who's doing carpool today? Are you going to drive the kid? Oh, so sorry. You don't have any kids. So sorry, I forgot. When the kids came back from school, she would say, so how was the report card? My son was, oh, you don't have any kids. So sorry, I forgot. And she would drive her crazy. Why did she do it? Chazal saying, she did it L'Shem Shamayim. So she should daven.
The doctor knows he's not.
But the Gemara says that that's why she was punished. What type of punishment? What type of punishment? Her kids died. Even though the Gemara says she was doing it L'Shem Shamayim.
She didn't know that there was a problem with Hannah. She just took a guess. It was wrong. The doctor knows.
She took a guess by lying to her.
No, she thought that Hannah's not davening enough. So she's gonna try to.
Our doctor also thinks that this guy is not davening enough, not learning enough. So I'm going to lie to him to make him daven more. Being mitzayir, and what are you going to cause the patient when you're going to tell him, the matzah doesn't look good? Oh, he's going to be great. He's going to be thrilled. He's going to go on a vacation. Is there a greater tzar than that?
If he knows he's not bathing, he knows he's going to tshuva, then it's a different story. He doesn't know. It's for better.
But you see from Chana that the Gemara says she was punished with the most severe punishment that you can imagine.
She didn't know.
She caused the tzar.
But she didn't know if she had something wrong with Hannah.
What do you mean?
Yes, maybe Hannah's not davening enough. Maybe she was.
Let's say, in fact, she's not. What do you want to say? Let's say she thinks Hannah is a big tzaddikus?
No, she thought she's not a big tzaddik.
Good. Who gave her permission if she's not a big tzaddik to cause the tzar?
Exactly. Just thinking, but if you know for sure someone is not bathing the way he should,
Yeah.
so then maybe it's a different story. You can try to push him to do something right.
Why is it different? I don't understand the
In
difference.
one case, I know they're doing an avera.
Yeah.
I can change the direction. In other case, I don't know.
No, what the Gemara seems to be saying is, even when you do something l'shem shemayim, but you can saw to another yid, you will be punished.
The L'Shem Shemayim doesn't mean that they know for sure that there's a problem with Hannah.
But you're causing tzar when it's not me. You can avoid that. Try to bring it closer and to cause it to daven in different ways. Why through tzar? However, we do find something. Shvus Yankiv, again, one of the Poskim 450 years ago. And the Shvus Yankiv says, if the Dayanim reached a psak very quickly, they sat down in 5 minutes, they figured it out. But they think, people will be talking and say, wait a second, in 5 minutes they pass in his way. What kind of basin is this? They can withhold the decree and not answer. Come back next week, we have to sit on this one. Do you have a greater tzar than a person who's in court and they reached the gzar din, the psak din, and they're not sharing it? Do you have a greater tzar than that? They're allowed to do this. Says the Aderes, Rabbi Eliyahu David Rabinovich Te'umim, the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim, about 95 years ago. Wait a second. Seemingly a major contradiction between Chana and Shvus Yankov. The Shvus Yankov says, no problem. You can do this. You can cause tzar to another yid. The Gemara in Baba Basra Zayin says about Pnina, you're not allowed to do this. She caused tzar to Chana, and you're going to be punished. Why?
In Chana, it was one person against the other. Chana made tzar to, Pnina did tzar to Chana, and therefore, in order to make her be better. That you're not allowed to do. The Beis Din, on the other hand, is going to make a small tzar for one person in order to make sure that the other people, the whole Klal Yisrael, won't say, "Oh, this isn't a good thing."
Beautiful, beautiful svara. I was mechaven to your svara, Baruch Hashem, but this is not what the Aderes says. I was thinking about the same lines. Baruch Hashem, I was mechaven. The Aderes wrote 120 svarim. Only 2 were published in his time, but we have all his writings. In his Sefer Oiver Orach, in Siman Reish Chaf Beis, he says 2 different answers, but I like yours. One answer, he says, you don't like his? You like his? Good. Strong coalition. Says the Aderes, what you said before. Pnina was active. Kum ve'ase, that you can do. The Beis Din, what do we expect them to do? Shev ve'alta, he said, just be passive. Just don't share the psak din with others. That you can do. The other thing the Aderes entertains, I don't know where he gets it from, this is a svara, but it's a good svara. Pnina probably did it many, many times. And in one of the times that she did it, maybe it wasn't so l'shem shamayim. But the Beis Din, what are they doing it? To protect Kollel Yisrael, to protect the name of Kollel Yisrael. They're doing l'shem shamayim, they're doing only once. When you do it once, l'chayra, no takala will come your way. So, Yitzchak prayed for her.
that she should have children. He didn't pressure her that it was her fault.
There's two ways in Kiyuv. Some people know that for some people it will work better to frighten them. And for some people it works better when you tap them on the shoulder and say, you're great, and come and I'll make you even greater. There's two aspects, two ways. But who says he had the chance to do it and he decided not to do? He knew that this is what's going to work for Rivka. I'm not sure that that's a raya, that you're not allowed to go the other way. There's just a raya that the other way works, but not necessarily that you can't go the other way.
Isn't it like the Raya from Yaakov? The Parashat Shavua we read in 2 days. Yaakov says, the Rambam comes to Yaakov and says, I want kids. And Yaakov Avinu tells her,
Asher mana mimech privat, and it's because of you.
he spoke to her a bit roughly. So Hashbach said that's how you speak to people who have...
Kacha oini mesameunos, that's the language of Chazal. You have to be a little softer. The Aderes himself says, we have a Gemara in Bab Metzia Samech Aleph. You're not allowed to steal. Says the Gemara, even al menas lemeikat. What's lemeikat? You have a friend, you have a chavrusa, you sit and learn with him. And every single day he puts his keys, his car keys, or his cell phone on the table. And you say to him, listen, sometimes you go out, you go to the bathroom, you go outside. Don't leave it on the table. There's some people who walk here are not such inshei. The lo ma'ales. All kind of people walk in this place. Don't leave it here. And he doesn't listen. So what do? Next time he goes to the bathroom, you take the keys and you put in your pocket, you take a cell phone as well. But just for 5 minutes, just to teach him a lesson. Are you allowed to do this? Says the Gemara, you're not allowed to cause a tsar, even if in 2 minutes you're going to give it back. But I'm doing it for his benefit. Now let's do this. Says the Emek Sheilta, the Netziv. In Emek Sheilta, hey, you see from here, even to cause sorrow to a Yid. For 2 minutes, you can do. And therefore, to our doctor, we will have to say, you're not allowed to do this. If a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants him, he will find him. Or if you have a different way to try and get him and pull him in, do it. But don't lie to the patient. But back to our Yahrzeit question. I said there's going to potentially be a problem with a Yahrzeit, even though Yahrzeit only stems from a minhag. When these people in that shul will realize that, yeah, we can use the Goyish calendar for Jewish minhagim and Jewish celebrations. The next thing is that they're going to use the Bar Mitzvah date, the Goyish date. And Chas v'Shalom, maybe, even Rosh Hashanah next year. This is Rosh Hashanah, and this is Rosh Hashanah. Maybe I'm not worried they're going to blow shofar on January 1st. I'm worried they're going to do other things. Or not do things that they're supposed to do on our real Rosh Hashanah. So potentially it can cause a big stumbling block. And therefore, not a good idea. Va'ad Kashrus doesn't recommend. So that was the first question. Let's move to another question. Interesting question. A guy comes and he shares with us, during Corona, my father lives in the States. Let's say Los Angeles. Los Angeles? And the guy lives here. And he says, my father really wanted me to come, but I couldn't come. It was Corona. Especially at the beginning stages when we had no idea what this COVID is all about. And if I do go to visit him, I'm going to have to sit in bidud on the way there and on the way back for 2 weeks. Remember those days? People sat for 2 weeks. And I have a big family, and I have to work, and I have to go and sit and learn in the Kollel Raanana, and I have to go listen to Kriyas HaTorah and daven b'minyan, and there's so many mitzvahs that I will cancel if I go do Kibud Av as my father wants me to do. I couldn't come. Also, at the beginning stages of Corona, people were afraid to fly, the actual flight itself. Who knows? 450 people in a small plane, air is circulating the same air, very dangerous. So therefore, I kept saying to my father, no, I'm sorry, I can't come. And unfortunately, he says, my father went and had a car accident and he died. I wasn't zoichet to see him. And for so many months, he asked me repeatedly, please come to visit me. And I said no. So his question is, do I have to go to the kever of my father, bring 10 men with me, and ask mechila from my father? Boy, say, what do you say?
If there wasn't Corona, he would have gone.
Of course.
So,
Kibud Av! You remind me of a maaseh. Somebody once came to Reb Chaim Brisk. And he says to him, Rebbe, isn't it true that Kibud Av is Mishel Av? When your father wants you to spend money on him, you don't have to listen. Kibud Av, we paskin, is Mishel Av, not Mishel Ben. The son doesn't have to spend his money on the mitzvah of Kibud Av. It goes from the father's money, not from the son. So this guy says to Reb Chaim Ibris, my father lives in a faraway town, and he's very sick, and he wants me to come visit him. But I don't have the money to buy, or I don't want to spend the money to buy the train ticket. So am I mechuyev to go visit him? Kibud Av, Mishel Av. That's how we paskin. And Reb Chaim Ibris said to him, you are right. Kibud Av, Mishel Av. You don't have to buy the ticket. Start walking! Your father wants to see you! So yes, there was corona in the world. But your father wants to see you. For months, he asked him to come. So does he have to ask Mechila because he didn't fulfill his father's wishes? What do you say, Rabbi Say?
The question is, why didn't he come?
For the reasons that we mentioned.
If it's stolen because of mitzvahs, therefore we can say that if the father tells you to do an avera, not to do
I'm not doing avera, I'm doing another mitzvah. I'm choosing to do another mitzvah. A very important mitzvah.
if it's more than Torah or Tefillah, then you can say, I don't need to listen, and I know that I'm going to be missing so much. If it's sport quit technically because I can't go because I need to work, I need to be now on vacation, I can't go now. Then for sure you need to go to the same mechila.
Good. Anyone disagrees and thinks that this son needs to go?
Yeah, needs to go.
Needs to go. Yes.
Well, he has what's called the danger to your life. He was scared.
He felt it's dangerous.
I wouldn't go there, but
Do you have to endanger your life to do the mitzvah of Kibud Av?
I think there's also the danger to protect your life for.
Chayecha koidmin.
Is the question...
Even if he had a head chance to go, he must have still caused his father the son.
He did.
Probably has to go after.
But if it's beheter, so there's nothing to ask Mechila for. If you choose to be upset for something that I did, which was 100% right, and I did bereshus, so I don't have to ask Mechila. You have to ask yourself, why am I getting upset when my son is doing the right thing in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu?
His father forgiving him anyway.
He's doing what?
His father forgives him anyway.
Who told you? You spoke to him?
No, but I'm saying.
You got a text message?
If he explains to him why he's not coming. If he didn't.
But he tells us that until the last days, he kept saying, I want you to come, I want to see you. What did you say?
The whole concept of mechila is, but that doesn't mean that given the time again, would you have done the same thing or done it differently? Just because you're saying the mechila, maybe wouldn't have changed your original decision because you have the mechila you can do after the fact.
But there's no reason to ask mechila for something that was done correctly. If you kept Shabbos, and that upset your father, you have to go on Sunday and ask mechila for it. I kept Shabbos and I know it caused you a lot of sorrow. Chas v'sholom. You have to explain to your father why it's beautiful. He should also keep Shabbos. But why ask mechila for something you did right?
It's a huge part of the nefesh because you see in the Gemara about a pregnant woman. I mean, the chances of her in great shape to do whatever you want for a pregnant woman. But yeah, the chances, especially at that stage with no vaccinations.
And we thought that anybody who goes on the plane that's it. It's the end.
I think even factually there's a big nefesh thing.
So you're saying what he's saying. But Metzias Samar Beis, Chayecha, Koidmin. Your life comes first. You don't have to endanger yourself.
We got nefesh around what other mitzvahs?
It's not clear to me exactly the story. If the reason that he didn't go was because of Chayef or Koidmin, that's one thing.
It's a slew of
He
reasons.
said he goes to davening and he can learn.
We have a lot of reasons that he says. He explained like this. I was afraid for my life. You go on a plane with 400 people in a closed environment. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to lose a lot of mitzvahs. My Talmud Torah with my chavrusa here, I don't learn like where I learn over there in LA. I have minyanim, which I won't be able to fulfill when I'm in bidud, before and after. I have a family. I have to catch it. I have to provide for my family.
So for each one of these things, it's an answer. As far as the davening is concerned, he told us before you should get it. You should be able to wake up and daven the next, which is better than davening with a minyan.
That's better when you don't have the option. But when you have an option to daven nets in a minyan, of course it's better than davening bechidus benetz.
trying to do a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah b'avadera, so he can wake up and daven early. If he had $1 million business deal in Los Angeles, would he go?
Chas v'sholom. This guy, chas v'sholom.
If you would, okay, so if that's the case, then it's...
$1.5 million, now we're talking, but for $1 million.
If you're saying that he doesn't need to ask for Mechila something that he did right, then there's no problem with Mechila. If the reason that he didn't go was because he's scared for his life, so there's no need for Mechila. If the reason he didn't go is because he had business deals and he wanted to learn with a chavrusa, and he could daven here, those aren't sufficient reasons to prevent him going there.
You sure? What about Yaakov? Anyone disagrees and thinks that this guy has to run tomorrow morning and ask Mechila at the kever?
I'm fairly certain, I haven't seen it for years, I don't remember it that well, but I'm fairly certain I find Kollel was on his shmooth for Yom Kippur, goes to great lengths to show that even if a person is justified in hurting another person, they're still doing the cheshbon for that, and if he doesn't get Mechila, he has to answer to a Baruch, even if he's justified.
Can you show us that, Reb Chaim Shmulevitz? When you mekayim din deoraisa and you're doing everything right? Is he speaking about a case where you did nothing and the person decided to be upset, or where you did everything right? You did a mitzvah and he decided to be upset. So you have to show us the source. You said something?
The father and the son walking in the day. The son has just enough water for himself.
Not necessarily the father and the son. Two people. And I own the bottle of water.
He doesn't have to give it to his father.
Chayecha koidmin. That's the Bab Mitzvah you sent us before. True. So it's a open shut case. Everybody agreed? No mechila? I actually happen to agree with you this time. With everybody. I think you're right. For a few reasons. That some of them you mentioned, some of them you didn't. First of all, kibud av, mishel av, not mishel ben. The son, kid, doesn't have to spend money on kibud av. Here, it's a substantial loss. You have the 2 weeks bidud before. I'm sorry? But we're talking about the case that he needed to spend, and he had to go now into bidud for 2 weeks when he comes back, when he can't go to work. That's a substantial loss. You also don't have to lose Talmud Torah for kibud av. So much so, Shulchan Aruch Yoreh Deah, Siman Reish Mem, we learn that if you think you'll be successful, more successful in your learning in a certain yeshiva in a different town, and your father says, I don't want you to go there, you don't have to listen. Talmud Torah overrides it. But now comes a big chiddush. I'm sorry? Not true, that's a raya, because his own mother told him, you should go. So not necessarily that's a raya, you should not honoring me. He is honoring her. He is honoring his own mother when he's doing her own will. Go. Louder? That's a whole different shayla. When the father and the mother say different, opposing things.
That's why he was so afraid when he came back when his brother said he has one squeal. Even though he fulfilled the world, he's still his brother.
So you're sending us to Bereshis Rabbah in Parasha Ayin Vav, where Chazal say, Yaakov Avinu was afraid. He was so afraid when he's about to encounter Esav Arasha. And Chazal say, what are you afraid? This is Esav. You just said, beginning of Vayetze, Im Lavan Gauti, I'm sorry, Im Lavan Gauti, and Chazal Midai Gauti, Taryag Mitzvot Shemati, Gauti the same letters as Taryag. How many mitzvahs did Esav do? What are you afraid? More than that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised him, Ushmarticha, I'm going to watch over you, don't worry, you're going to come back. So what are you afraid of? And Yaakov Avinu says, yeah, you're right. I'm a tzaddik, he's a rasha. I fulfilled 613. I have a avtacha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeah, but there's a mitzvah that wasn't able to fulfill. 2 mitzvahs actually, the Medrash mentions over there. First of all, the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, I was in Chutz La'aretz, and Esav was here. Big chiddush. Because you think Esav was here every morning with a kavana, I want to do the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. No kavana, maybe even a kavana hafucha, and yet, apparently it works. And the mitzvah of Kibud Av. I wasn't zoichet to fulfill it because 22 years I was away. Esav had this big, heavy-duty mitzvah, and maybe with that he's coming to fight me. That's what Yaakov Avinu says, and I think that's what you're referring to. So, here comes a big chiddush. The mitzvah of Kibud Av is only when you're in the same town as your father. In order to learn Torah, you have to stop and go help your father. But if you're in a different town, says the Machne Ephraim, and the Pischei Tshuva and Yoredea Reish Mem, it doesn't override Talmud Torah, and you're exempt if you are in a different town. So for all the reasons you mentioned, and these few reasons, the son did everything right. He didn't do anything wrong. If he didn't do anything wrong, there's nothing to ask Mechila for. But I think is the most accurate thing is what you said. You think now in Shemaim, and I think you did get a text message from him. You think now in Shemaim, the father says, "Oh, he needs to come ask Mechila." When the father looks from above and sees that everything was done exactly according al pi halacha, exactly like Kodesh Baruch Hu wants, the father says, "This is great. There's no need for Mechila." Unfortunately, many times, it's what Chazal say in Psochim Dafnun, Oilam hafuch raisi. I see exactly the opposite behavior of what really should be. When the parents are alive, the kids are not so worried. What's going to be with my father? And if my father gets upset, no, okay, fine. When the father is no longer here, father or the mother, then the kids start saying, wait a second, I could have done this, and I could have done this, and I should have done this. Should I have done this? And the right thing to do is to honor one's parents, is to do the right thing in the eyes of Ribono Shel Olam. And when you do that, that is the greatest, if the parent is not here, Ilui Neshama, or if the parent is still here, the greatest nachas, and any parent who is here in the audience who will admit that the greatest nachas de kedusha. So in our case, the son who is asking us this question will not have to go and ask me. I wanted to share with you many, many more questions, but we don't have time. So, just in closing, I heard some remarkable thing. I was in Zoiche to meet maybe saw Mordechai when he was alive, but I heard some great things. Among them, he was very soft-spoken, and he had a lot of patience. Rabbi say, the midah of savlanus, having patience, is it important? Now, you can't just say yes without giving me some kind of a source. You have to back yourself up. Some documentations. How important is the midah of savlanus? That's because he wants a certain thing and they're not giving it to him. You would do the same. Who says because it's savlanus? It's because he has no option. Is it important to have so?
For 7 days.
What 7 days? 7 days is nothing. For some, look, he just gave you an example of 14 years. A lifelong of exalting and reaching the peak of savlanus. Is that important or not?
With us.
Oh, big time. At least with me. I don't know about you, but he has a lot of savlanus with me.
After 3,000 years.
And every morning that's part of my moediani that says, wow, that's amazing. After yesterday, you still give me back my neshama? Wow. I'm sorry? Ooh, Hillel was a big savlani. But let's go to the Torah. Why are you going to the Talmud when you can bring me a raya from the Torah itself? What about Yaakov Avinu?
When he speaks to the Shvotim, when he's about to die, when he
Ooh, what a raya.
waited 56
Ooh,
years
wah.
until he died.
Ooh, wah. Yaakov Avinu wanted to give some rebuke to his sons. But, Chazal say, Rashi brings it on the spot, save your rebuke. It's a big chiddush, because Rashi says, save your rebuke till when? Till just before you die. And how exactly are you supposed to know when you're going to die? I don't know the answer to that. But you see that Yaakov Avinu didn't rush to give rebuke, even though sometimes it's burning, and you're doing it for their benefit. That's a great raya. I have another one. What about Yosef?
His brothers. Right away.
Gevaldik. But that could be by nevuah. That could be by nevuah, because everything there, as if, doesn't make sense. Why didn't he send some kind of a telegram to his father? By the way, I'm alive. You have to say there's a nevuah involved here. So I'm not sure if it's a raya. But listen to this, it will change your life forever.
The Medrash says that Shvotim put everyone in a cheder.
Right.
Shvotim put
Right.
anyone who's going to study out is in a cheder.
Right.
He also didn't want to...
Right. Couldn't breach that cherem. That could be a pikuach nefesh ayla. Rabbi say,
Noah took many years to build the Teva.
that's because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is telling him. You have a direct
That's
instruction from a Kodesh Baruch Hu.
Nothing goes go for that bonus for 120 years. That's
Excellent. Even after Kodesh Baruch Hu says, from now on, I'm only going to have Savlanus for how long? No more than 120 years. That's a long time. It's also pretty good. 120 years. Oh? No.
As much as they were persecuted, they waited. They had Sabanut until they...
Choice or slaves.
Rabbi Yisai, I know it's late, but if you listen to this, it's $1 million, and believe me, you're not going to have dessert for 2 weeks now. It's so sweet! The Meirei Chachomim, the Ostov Rebbe says, in Parshas Kisisa, the Pasuk says, Vayar ha'am ki boishesh Moshe lavo. Moshe is delaying, he's not coming down from the mountain. What happened? Chazal darshan this word, boishesh. In Shabbos Peites, al tikrei boishesh, ela ba shesh. The 6th hour on the 40th day came, and Moshe is not here. Houston, we have a problem. Moshe is not coming back. But what happened exactly on the 40th day, on the 6th hour, that when they saw Moshe is not here, they said, I don't think he's coming in. I don't think he's coming back. And therefore, they ran to do Chet Egel. Says the Ostov Rebbe, Klal Yisrael knew that Moshe Rabbeinu went upstairs to learn Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What type of Torah? Torah shebichtav. Torah shebe'al peh will only be given with the second set of luchos. So if we can figure out how long it takes to learn the entire Torah, and that time elapses, and Moshe is not here, you know he's not coming back. So let's do some math. How long does it take to learn the entire Torah? How do you even start this type of a calculation? How big is the Torah? How big is the Torah? And how fast can you learn? And then I'll do the math. How big is the Torah? Medrash Tarpios says, in the Torah there is 320,674 letters. Let's do it together so we'll remember this crazy number. 320,674. You're going to help me out here? How many letters? No pressure. 320,674. You remember this? 320,674. But wait a second. The Rambam in Hilchos Sefer Torah, how to write Sefer Torah, says that there are 669 spaces in the Torah between Parsha Stuma, Parsha Psucha. You have to learn that as well. There's deep meaning in the spaces as well. So what's the number? 320,674 plus 69 is 321, 343. Vishinui. 321,343 letters in our Torah. Shkoyach, what does it help you? How fast can you learn 321,343 letters, and when you know that if that time passed and Moshe is not here, he's not coming back? Baruchos Daf Zayin, we learn about Bilam's claim to fame. Bilam knew exactly when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was upset, and that second he could curse. Says the Tosfos, so what? And let's say you know the exact second HaKadosh Baruch Hu is upset. What can you say in 1 second? And the Tosfos say you can say a word that has 3 letters. Kalem, destroy them. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu turned those letters around, and Kalem turned into a Melech, Usruas Melech boy. But you learn from this that in 1 second you can say 3 letters. Oh. So in 1 minute, 3 letters times 60 seconds in a minute. How many in 1 minute? Whoa, everybody fell asleep. What's that? 180 letters in a minute is our advancing speed. That's incorrect. Because in Eruv, in Nun Daled Amud Beis, we learn Seder HaLimud. Chazal say, Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain after learning Torah from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He went into Ohel Moed, he taught Aaron. Then his sons Elazar and Itamar came, and he taught them. Then the Zkenim came, and then Klal Yisrael. You always have to review. Chazara, 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 4 times. So we don't care about Chazara. We want to know the rate at which we advance for the first time. So take 180 letters per minute and divide it by 4, that's 45. So we advance at the rate of 45 letters per minute. Why? So it's very easy now. How many minutes in an hour? 60 times 45, 2,700 letters per hour. Great. So take the big number we had. What's the big number? 321,343 letters of the Torah divided by 2,700, and you get, switch the battery, 119 hours and 1 minute. That's what you need to learn with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Wait a second. 119 hours? Why'd you get stuck for 40 days at the mountain? 119 hours is not even 5 days. 5 days is 120 hours. So why did he get stuck for 40 days for 119 hours. Because in the Avodah Zarah Daf Gimel and in Tanat Ve'Eliyahu in Parasha Yud Zayin we learn HaKadosh Baruch Hu's daily schedule, and that is the first 3 hours of the day He judges the world. The next set of 3 hours He learns Torah. The next 3 hours He sustains the world. And the Medrash says He's Mezavek Zivugim. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu only learns 3 hours a day. Oh, so take 119 hours and 1 minute and divide it by 3. What do you get? 39 days. 2 hours and 1 minute. In other words, 39 days passed. The 40th day came. The first, second, and third hour, Kodesh Baruch Hu is learning. Kodesh Baruch Hu judges the world. The 4th and 5th hour, he learned Torah with Moshe. What's missing? 1 minute. But Klal Yisrael looked at their the 6th hour. Moshe's not here. I guess he's not coming back. If they had Savlanus for 1 more minute, there wouldn't be a Chet HaEgel. So is Savlanus important? I think so. Do you need dessert for 2 weeks? For 3 weeks you don't need. Rabbi Isai, I have a proof that Rabbi Yisrael ben Mordechai was a Chacham. How do I know it? I never met him. But the pasuk in Kollel says, Divrei Chachamim benachas nishmaim. He was very, very soft-spoken. I also have a raya that he was a tzaddik. I never met him. However, his claim to fame was Amar Me'at ve'asa harbe. Listen to a language of Chazal. Avos de Rab Nosson. Amar Me'at ve'asa harbe. Keitzad melamed she'atzadikim oimrim me'at ve'oisim harbe. So if you see a person who doesn't talk too much, but he does a lot, he gets the coveted title of he is a tzaddik. And therefore I think it's no surprise that we see his son walking in his ways, and it's a tzaddik. I don't live in Raanana, so I don't need to tell you. I know Rav Horwitz, Baruch Hashem, but you guys know him even better than me. So therefore, like I said before, I think the greatest Ilui Neshama for your father is his Zoiche, to have you, Rav Shlita, as his son, in all the activities that you are involved in. Yirtzeh Hashem, we should all take to heart what Shlomo Melech said. Ve'hachai Yiten el liboy. It's not just that we came here tonight to learn a little Torah and we caused an ilui neshama to his neshama. It can be much more than that. Ve'hachai yiten el liboy. We have to take to heart. If we can take one midah that he had and try to improve even just a little bit. If we take one thought of Musa, and concentrate on it, even after tonight is over, every time we do that, that's going to cause an ilui neshama, as the neshama is going to ascend higher and higher in the oilamos ha'elyonim. Yirtzeh Hashem, the mishpacha should only know simcha and nachas kol hayamim. And I suggest that there's one bracha that I think we all do on autopilot. Shmoneh Esrei we daven 3 times a day. And, I'm talking at least about me. Very hard to have kavanah. But I do try to have kavanah in Birkas Hashanim. I'm asking for parnasa. I need it. I would like to have a little wisdom as well. If somebody is sick that I know, refuah, we all have kavanah in those brachos. But there's another bracha we say because it's there in the siddur, but I'm not sure that we actually mean it. So from now on, we have to have more kavanah. Baruch Atah Hashem, mechaye hamesim. And Yirtzeh Hashem, for that schus, we will have Tchiyas hamesim and we'll be able to enjoy again your father in your presence, not in LA. Yirtzeh Hashem is going to be here. Bekorov, be'yameinu, amen ve'amen.